Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the PAC Chat. I'm Felicia Malelli, Board Chair for New Jersey Public Health Innovation Political Action Committee, NJ5PAC. Tonight, I'm joined by my fellow board member, Lori Don Diego. Hi, Lori. The PAC Chat was created to give you, our community, the opportunity to meet influential people in our state who share in our commitment for health freedom. As part of the PAC's endorsement process, we've invited special guests, Senate candidate Steve Pakradooni and Assembly candidate Denise Gonzalez, all of Legislative District 4. Legislative District 4 includes municipalities in Camden and Gloucester counties. If you are tuning into us for the first time, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. We are going to bring our guests on in a few moments, but for any new viewers this evening, I wanted to give a little bit of a background about NJ5PAC and our endorsement process. NJ5PAC is a political action committee, and we are an organization made up of passionate, committed, experienced advocates who have come together in a grassroots fashion to help influence the political landscape here in New Jersey. With the current trajectory of health freedom here in New Jersey being what it is, and the magnitude of mandates being implemented and our health freedom trying to be removed, I am sure I speak for many of you when I say that we are beginning to see policymaking in the state and not going in the way we want it to be, and we're starting to maybe feel helpless or disempowered. So our goal in forming NJ5PAC is to change that, to give you, the people, a seat at the political table here in New Jersey, and so that your voices and your wishes regarding health freedom can be heard. How does a PAC work? Simply put, a PAC is a collection of funds from individuals like yourselves with a joint mission. So those funds are then pooled and implemented strategically to influence campaigns in the state. As we've discussed on previous calls, a PAC's primary focus or goal is to seek candidates who align with our mission so that they are able to advocate on behalf of us in Trenton and be that voice and ultimately strengthen our rights and freedoms and get the state back on course. So the PAC's mission, as I've referenced several times, as it's stated on our website, the PAC was formed to protect and strengthen the constitutionally guaranteed and fundamental rights of all New Jersey residents to make medical decisions for themselves and their families without coercion or undue constraint. So we believe that all decision making when it comes to health and medical decisions should be left to the individual. And with that, I'm going to pass over to Lori as she will share our endorsement process with you. Thanks, Lori.
Before we move on to introducing our evening's guest candidates, I'd like to tell you what the NJ5PAC endorsement means. So we've developed a set of standards to measure whether a political candidate is eligible to receive an endorsement. This includes, but is not limited to, completion of the NJ5PAC survey, their voting records, and their positions on matters that affect our mission. When NJ5PAC endorses a candidate, that endorsement is done with integrity and measurement without bias. Our goal is to provide transparency around the candidates who meet this criteria and be a resource to New Jersey voters in the 2021 election year, providing input around where votes and support are warranted. When you see the NJ5PAC Gold Seal endorsement, you can rest assured that this is the best candidate for our collective mission. Our previous and future endorsements can be seen at www.njfipac.org/endorsements.
Thanks, Lori. Thank you, Lori. So without further ado, let's bring on the NJ5PAC's newest endorsement, the District 4 team. Welcome Senate candidate Steve Pakradooni and Assembly candidate Denise Gonzalez. Oh, sorry about that. There they are. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are excited to introduce you to the NJ5PAC community. So first of all, it is our pleasure. It's been our pleasure in getting to know you all. We are greatly appreciative of your commitment and outwardly showing of support on the issues that matter to us in our community. So those issues are health freedom, informed consent, bodily autonomy, parental rights when it pertains to the above, bioindividuality, and ultimately choice. So the pandemic has been a springboard to launch into focus the threats New Jersey residents have been facing to their freedoms in regards to the infringement on parental rights, the preservation of the religious exemption, and choice when it comes to making masking and medical decisions. So with your commitment to protecting and strengthening personal choice in relation to health and medical freedoms, there was no hesitation in endorsing you guys as candidates in the 2021 New Jersey state elections. So we're going to open up for questions now and let you tell our viewers a bit about yourself and your district. Tell us about your life, your profession outside of politics, and please include whatever it is that prompted you to get into politics. Let's start with you, Steve.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. The endorsement does mean the world to me. It's just so important that we give the people back the government here in New Jersey and our freedoms and our rights, which are just being trampled on. So a little bit about myself. Actually, I am a small business owner. I'm an auto mechanic by trade. I've been in business in New Jersey for quite some years, and I reside in Washington Township with my wife Gina and my 16-year-old Steven, my son Steven, and our little dog Stella. And we love New Jersey, and my wife is a Jersey girl through and through, born and raised here. I was just born right over the bridge in South Philadelphia, and we were leaving 5 years ago, or about 6 years ago, actually. Now we were leaving. We had the exit plan. We were sitting at the kitchen table. And we were saying, that's it. Can't afford to live here anymore. There's no way I'm going to be able to retire here in New Jersey. No pension, nothing like that. It's just a small little business. What we can save and what the business will be worth when I decide to retire. And we were struggling at that time, even just to pay the bills to stay in our very modest home. And we said, that's it. And then I looked up at her and I said, our friends are here, our family is here, our house is here that we like, our business is here. My son's friends are here. Why are we leaving? Why do we have to leave? And it all came down to the incompetence that we saw in Trenton, causing us to be the highest tax state in the nation. And I said, well, I'm going to fight. And I got involved and went to a few political events, and got involved trying to help some candidates get elected. And then they came to me and asked me to run for assembly in 2019. Had some success, didn't win, but we've gotten closer than we've ever gotten in a lot of years. And here we are now in 2021, running for state senate and fighting for our basic rights. And right now, even fighting for our medical rights, which is something in my 55 years of life, never, ever thought our government would tell us what medical choices we have and actually make them for us. It never crossed my mind. So here we are, and I'm happy to run, and I'm happy to do whatever I can to fix the state of New Jersey.
Excellent. And we are blessed here to have in our state to have people like you who are willing to be that kind of service for the constituents and be that voice in Trenton for them. And we're excited to have you here tonight. So thank you for joining us. Denise, how about you? What's your story? Oh. Oop, you were muted.
I'm sorry. Okay. So my story starts in New York. I am a New York girl. I was born in New York. My parents are from Puerto Rico. My mom is from Santurce, Puerto Rico, and my dad is from Ponce, Puerto Rico. And they moved here when they were really young, and they settled in New York, and I was born there. And I lived there until about age 7, and then they decided New York was too wild and crazy for a conservative family, and so we moved south to Hamilton, the blueberry capital of the world. So I went from the concrete jungle all the way to nothing but blueberries as far as the eye can see. So I lived there till about till I graduated high school, and then October 27th, 1992, I raised my hand and I swore an oath to enter the service. I entered the United States Marine Corps, and I did a tour there with the Marines, and I served stateside support during the Gulf War. And from there, I basically left, and I was like, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that. So then I went to college, and then I wasn't sure about that, like most really confused young people. Then I went to college for a little bit, and I'm like, wasn't sure about that either. And then I heard about, I heard they were hiring for the electrical union in South Jersey. So I gave that a try, and that was my niche. I loved it. And so I did a 5-year apprenticeship, and I pretty much have maintained my membership as an IBEW Local 351 union member. I'm an electrician, wireman by trade. So, which means, yes, I do work out in the cold and the heat and in construction. So fast forwarding all the way through to where I am today, basically got married, had children, and I became very concerned with certain things that happened to me in the military. I started to question certain ailments, stuff like that, after certain procedures, which was involved vaccination. And I never connected the two until I had was fully diagnosed with autoimmune disease, and I started to question things, and I started to do more research, and come to find out that it isn't 1 in a million, and injuries do happen. And that just tumbled me down into a rabbit hole, and I started to find a lot of grassroots organizations, and I joined, and I learned a lot more from the leadership of all these organizations. And then when I had children, that even prompted me to do even more, and I got to understanding a whole lot more. And unfortunately, I got to stumble across a lot of stories of children that were affected negatively as well. And so that's when I started to realize we need a choice here. We need an opt-out. For those that still want it, that's okay, they can have it. But for those that want to abstain for whatever their reasons are, they should be able to. For whatever those reasons, whether they're religious or whether they're philosophical, there needs to be an opt-out. So that's why I'm running today. I basically, in my advocacy work, started having meetings with legislators from districts 3 all the way up to districts 7. I've met several. I'm not going to name names here. I'm sure you know by the numbers who they all are. So I've had many engagements with legislators in Trenton and at their legislative offices. And then about 3 years ago, you all know that time, right? The Battle of Trenton, they started to just basically block us out in South Jersey. They didn't allow us to have meetings. They said they didn't want to meet with us on our issues. And I said, well, you can't tell Denise no. So I said, okay, so you won't have meetings with your constituents. At that time, I was living in Gloucester City, which was LD5. And Nilsa Cruz Perez and her 2 assembly people refused to meet with me. And I said, okay, that's okay. You don't have to meet with us, but I'm going to run against you. So I gave myself a better option. Rather than run in LD5, I actually moved to have a better chance. I moved into LD4 to do this, to actually run and take a seat. I purposely moved so I can give myself a better chance at winning. So I'm here, and this is why I'm running. I'm running for my children. I'm running for our rights. I'm running for our bodily autonomy, our religious freedom. I'm also a conservative, so I am very spiritual. I'm here I took that oath. Basically, 20 years, it'll be 20 years, October 27th this year, 21 years. And I'm going to uphold that oath until I take my last breath. So I'm going to take a seat.
Excellent.
I hope Mascara and Moriarty are watching this. I'm coming for you, and I'm not going to stop. So.
That's excellent. And you are exemplary in your efforts to protect freedom, both with your service in the military. But
Yes.
And then, what's that?
I served in the Marine Corps, yes.
In the Marine Corps, yeah. Okay, so thank you for your service there and your exemplary efforts and the way that you've activated to you saw that there was a need for your community and the constituents in that area and in the state. And you said, okay, I'm going to take this right on, and I'm going to put myself in the game and work hard to be the voice in Trenton so that this issue is heard and recognized. So thank you. It's extraordinary. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
I'm going to pass it along to Lori so that we can get into some deeper dive questions about current events.
So I spoke to Steve back in February. Full disclosure, I've been very excited for this interview. From the start, I called this one. But I spoke to him back in February, and I knew right away he wasn't going to be he wasn't a lifetime politician. He was just someone who wanted to make things better. As we're talking, he was at work. I'm hearing the machines in the back. I was at the dentist, but we had a long conversation, and I knew that he just wanted to make things better for his neighbors, their families. And when he told me about, not being able to stay in New Jersey, he wanted to be here. And the reason he couldn't stay is just this politics stuff. So he decided he wanted to make a change, and now he is. So, that was great. But then, of course, there's Denise, and this endorsement is totally different than what we've done before, because I'm just so proud to say that Denise is a health freedom advocate, and she started there, and now she's going into politics. So after Trenton, we all knew that the major takeaway was, whether or not we liked it, if we wanted to have change in New Jersey and keep our freedoms and keep the freedoms for our kids, we needed to get involved in politics ourselves. So to actually take this, run with it, and Denise took it head on, and we couldn't be more proud to have one of our own fellow warriors running for this seat. So thank you both. And to get started, so Steve, what are your thoughts on what's happening with small business in New Jersey right now?
Small business in New Jersey is very, very tough. We are ranked the last business-friendly state in the nation, only second to Illinois, which is scary if you think about it. Overregulation, overtaxation. Our corporate tax rate in New Jersey is double most other states. Our surrounding states, Pennsylvania, New York, even Delaware. So what happens with small business in New Jersey, we just go out of business because we can't afford to be here as a small business. So what happens is the large businesses take over. I'm just going to quote, because I know my industry very well. If you notice, there's this continuation of the big box stores of auto repair shops cropping up all over the place as the small guys like myself become extinct. And that's because you just can't afford to have one location. What that does is hurt the consumers like yourselves. So now you have to go to these box stores that really don't, they're worried about the quick dollar things, but the full maintenance of your cars, and just taking care of a customer, always having that, gas station at the end of the street. That was a great thing to have. And it really helped the consumers, and it kept your prices down. Now you have to depend on the dealer and the box stores. So in our industry, we just can't afford to have one location in New Jersey. And I struggle every day. I just expanded, actually. I took over a larger shop because the decision was either I took over this larger location with no help. That's the other problem I'm having in my industry. Or go out of business. So I said, okay, go to try the larger location and see what we can do. But now I need more help. I'm now averaging 12 to 14 hours a day myself working and campaigning, which is a little tricky. So every other industry that I talk to that is small industries are struggling just as much as I am. They either can't find help. The regulations are too high. The governor is now hitting us with another $250 million taxes to offset the losses in unemployment. And that falls on our backs. And we just cannot do that. That business climate in New Jersey has to change. I tell everybody, too, I said, when was the last time you heard of a business expanding? Say they started out on the West Coast and they're coming east. Do they even look at New Jersey to be their East Coast headquarters? No, not one. We just lost the Bisco. They've been in business forever, and they left. It's too expensive to be here, is what it comes down to. They said, we can do exactly the same thing for half of the price in a different state. They leave, and that's building new plants and hiring new staff. That's expensive to do that. But when they when they look at the long-term plans, they said New Jersey is just not a business-friendly state. We have to change that. And that was one of the reasons of why I got also involved in this, is just to survive in business. And what it comes down to is that we have the wrong people in Trenton. We've had the wrong people. We've had Wall Street guys running the governorships for way too long. These guys know how to make money with other people's money. They never really kind of use their own money, if you think about it, where these people came from, and they've never ran a business. Where myself and another reason with Jack Citarelli too, he's ran some very successful businesses, and also why he asked me to get involved and run for a high position in Trenton, where I do look at these state senators, and most of them are attorneys, Harvard grads, Yale grads. I graduated from Lincoln Tech, but I'm proud to say I'm graduated from Lincoln Tech. And it brings a whole different dynamic to Trenton. I can fix things, and I understand how extreme small businesses work. And when I say extreme small businesses, it's whether it's a family member that's employed or 2 or 3 people. And I've done that for many, many years. My guys depend on me to do well to support their families. And I can do that. So I figured I can expand that throughout the state. Just take what I've learned to how to run a small business with very limited resources and be successful, and put that on the state level. That's what we need. We need people who are in touch with everyday life, not just in that political circles. We need to change Trenton. And that's and also we need to change the business environment here in New Jersey. Double corporate taxes, double rate corporate taxes of our neighboring states. We will never, ever, ever be successful. That has to change.
Can't hear.
Sorry.
Okay.
I just thanked you, Steve. Thank you for that. We appreciate hearing it. And I think a lot of people need to hear it, because it's something that if you're not in the small business world, you don't think too much on. But we need that. I mean, every time I've taken my car to a non-mechanic, it doesn't go too well for me. You get like the newbie and forget it. You have to go back 3 or 4 times. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's funny, one thing I want to mention in my industry also too is, like, people always say, you have to have a good mechanic and a good doctor to get through life. And it's true, because without your car, especially in New Jersey, you're not getting anywhere. Life stands still when your car's not fixed, and also when you're not feeling well too. So the doctors and mechanics, I'll put the doctors first. How's that sound?
Wherever you want. They're both very important. Denise, as a veteran, what are your thoughts on the military vaccine mandate, specifically to COVID, but all around as well?
Well, like I had said earlier, we are the guinea pigs. Anything that comes down as far as medicine, as far as supplements, as far as vaccination, military gets it first. And sometimes they'll, go abroad and do their business in other, third world countries, but technically they'll do it to the military first. And I am adamantly against mandates in the military, and especially this COVID vaccine. Just recently, there was a Navy doctor. She had just a recording of her floating around. I can't mention her name. I posted the video twice, and I got thrown in Facebook jail twice. So if anybody would like it, I could share it privately. I could email it, or But I'm even afraid to even mention that, for fear that this might get censored. But basically, her warning was to the whole military community, to the Department of Defense, that this needs to stop. What they're seeing now, because the military has their own reporting system, and she says they're seeing like cancers, and they're seeing all kinds of autoimmune diseases come about at an alarming rate. And she says until they understand this vaccine a whole lot more, and there's more testing, not testing on humans, more ongoing testing through animal testing and whatnot, that it should be halted immediately. And I shared it once or twice, and I got thrown in jail. So my personal view is I'm adamantly against it, and I feel for my brothers and sisters that are going through this right now. A lot of people are resigning their commissions and are leaving the military. Some even leaving with general other than honorable conditions and even dishonorable conditions, because when you sign your name on that line, that's a contract now with the government, and you give your body over to the government, and they're supposed to be able to do whatever they want with it. So when you say no, it's usually a black mark on your record for life when you leave. So my heart goes out to them. I know that a lot of them are suffering right now. Some, a lot of them are suffering adverse events because they feel like they have to take it, to finish out their service and their career and to feed their families. And others have backed away completely and have taken, black marks on their records right now. It's really bad what's going on.
It's crazy to even think about. Just especially the way we are now. It's just sad. But thank you for that, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Felicia, I'll pass to you.
Thank you, Lori. For anyone just tuning in, we're here tonight at a PAC chat discussing Legislative District 4 with Steve Pakradooni, and and Denise Gonzalez for Assembly, and just discussing with them their positions on health freedom here in New Jersey. We have some allies here with this group, and if you're in that area, that Camden or Gloucester County, please get connected with them. I'm sure they're going to tell us what they can do, what you can do to help support their campaign. So it's just important to us that our community knows it is like who's championing for them, and not just in their district, but in the state as a whole. So, Steve, what would you say are the issues that get you up and out of bed each day to conquer in your district and beyond?
They've changed. Originally, most of it was business and financials and the unbelievable spending, the tax and spending in New Jersey. But this run and over the last few months with Governor Murphy and his mandates, especially the mask mandates on our children, that I stop nothing short of saying that it's child abuse. I've been on record saying that many times, and I will repeat that many times. That's what's motivating me now. It's just a shame for what they are doing to our children. I can't imagine that. My son is older. He's 16. He's junior in high school, so he has to wear a mask in school. He kind of understands it, but I couldn't imagine him going into first grade, kindergarten. These pictures that the parents are posting. I used one on a post recently. That the first day of kindergarten, this poor little boy is sitting behind plexiglass, coloring with a mask on. His closest classmate is at least 6 foot away. This is just not right. So these are the things that motivate me. The incompetence, the inconsistency. Town over from me in Deptford just had a party, an indoor birthday party for any resident over the age of 85. Inside, no mask required. And we're sending these same people, these same elected officials from state to municipal levels are in full agreement with the governor and the state house that our children wear masks in schools, but we have a party for 85-year-olds. The people that are most affected by COVID are elderly, over the age of 75, especially over the age of 80. So the inconsistency, the hypocrisy, the political agenda, that's what is driving me now. Forced vaccines, vaccine cards. It's just impossible for me to comprehend this anymore. And that drives me every day to change it. Because if you send me to Trenton, that ends. And I will scream and holler as loud as I possibly can. I think I met a few of you also, too, at a rally outside of Trenton against the mask mandates, against our children. And I learned about 10 minutes in that the people on that inside of that building are not listening to us. They're laughing at us. So the last laugh would be, send me there, and I will scream and holler at the top of my lungs inside that building and fight for our children and fight for our medical freedom rights and straighten this state out. It's time. It's time. The political agendas of Murphy and the progressives have to end. Have to end.
Great. Well, I couldn't agree more with you. As a mother of 4 children with a 3-year-old and a child in first grade, as you mentioned, and 2 children in middle school, it's very disheartening to see the isolation that they face every day, wearing masks and having to distance from their friends, walking down the hallways a certain way, being confined behind plexiglass at lunch and confined to a specific zone, and it goes on and on. The contact tracing that's going on in school and the hypocrisy, as you said, with examples like that nursing home, that's just one fraction of the hypocrisy that we're seeing on a day-to-day. And again, it's ultimately comes down to choice and being able to make that decision. The decision is the basis of the constitutionally guaranteed rights that we have here in the United States to make decisions for ourselves like this with our families or physicians. So it is wonderful to hear that we have champions who are at the very least creating awareness, but giving themselves to be a service and a voice for all of our concerned members of the community, members of the PAC, and outward. So thank you very much for doing that. Let's move on to Denise. As I'm sure many of your constituents have been affected by the current policies, tell us what will be your first priority in the new year when you win in District 4 for your constituents?
Well, my first priority would be first to, along with working with the other Republican legislature, and there's some Democrats that are on our side too. Basically working with Jack to figure out how to rescind the 15 EOs that he had implemented and move forward from June 3rd, plus the most recent mask mandate that he just implemented a week and a half ago. I would urge everyone and work with everyone to have that rescinded. And if we could not have that rescinded, I would like to hopefully introduce legislation, counter legislation against that. And if I couldn't, I would urge my colleagues to do the same, and I would support that, and and definitely sponsor and endorse that. Another thing I would like to do, I know it might be a little bit ambitious. Of course, we need a more more Republican legislature to help with this. Having the right key people in committee would be to introduce something like Representative Diamond's bill that he introduced in Pennsylvania, which is the right to refuse bill. Basically, an employee can refuse any kind of procedure, any kind of vaccination, or any kind of medication that their employer would try to impose on them. They would have their right to refuse. That is Bill HB 262. It's a Pennsylvania bill, if anybody would like to look that up. Another thing down the line is something like Florida's parental rights bill. I'd like to hopefully introduce something like that, or support something like that. Whether it's colleagues that write it and introduce it, I would definitely put my name on something like that. Those are things that I'd like to do moving forward for medical freedom.
Well, I'm sure that's just music to our community's ears. So there's not much more I have to add for anybody who's in District 4 and in that area, Gloucester County, Camden County. Can you name some of the municipalities in that district?
Sure. It's Clementon, Chesilhurst, Laurel Springs, Monroe Township, Pitman, Lindenwold, Gloucester Township, Washington Township, and I'm missing one more. Which one's the one town that's missing? I think I said Winslow, right? Yeah, 9 towns. So okay. Those are all the 9 towns, yes.
Yeah, just in case it rings to anybody that they're in that area who's going to be viewing this, and that's key for them to be able to activate and get in touch with you. Steve, can I ask you how would you suggest for your constituents to support your campaign?
A few ways that they can help us out. Of course, they can always go to my website is www.steve4nj.senate.com. And you can always volunteer. There's a landing page where you can just volunteer and help us out. There's a donate button. Campaigning is expensive. Where I put a lot of my own personal money into this. I'm also trying to show people that you can win races in New Jersey without spending millions or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. Money is important, but a lot more times hard work, determination, and really getting involved in learning your community and actually talk to the voters goes a long way too. So they can. We're looking for people actually to make calls and text for us, deliver literature for us. Denise and I are out there constantly. The good news is we probably both lost 20 pounds with the walking and not eating, but we just since before the primary. I like to say that we kind of started a trend because I noticed a lot of the other candidates are doing a lot of things that we're doing now statewide, which is great. This is how we'll gain control back of Trenton. But we've been out talking to people, delivering literature, and just being out there and asking people for their vote, which is really, really important. I think a lot of politicians or a lot of people running for office lose sight of it, of that, is that at the end of the day, how we get elected is by getting votes. So that's what we need help with. We need help getting our message out there. We'll talk to anyone. We've asked for meet and greets. We'll come to your house. If people don't want us in their homes, we can. I've done them on people's front lawns, and a couple people show up, ask a few questions, get to know you. That's what's really important for us too. We don't know most people. If you ask them, Steve, who's they say, oh, you're running for state senate. You're running against Cory Booker, and I'm like, not exactly. He's a federal senator, and they don't understand what a state senator is. And eventually, I say, yes, I'm running against Cory Booker. Vote for me. So it's just because they don't know they're elected officials. Also, they don't understand how Trenton works and how our state government works. So it's our job to educate them educate them for that and tell them that actually the way our state government, I have the New Jersey Constitution in front of me. I've been studying this thing. It's an amazing document, and it puts all the power with us, the people, not government, not Trenton. Unfortunately, we've lost sight of that. So once I tell people that you are the political power in the state, they start to think a little bit and say, well, I'm not choosing my representative correctly. So
that's a really good point.
Yeah, if they want to get involved, if people want to get involved, and they can get involved by finding out A, who the representative is, and B, if they don't like what they're seeing, get involved with the person running against them. Send the right person, like Denise and I, to represent them, because we will do a very good job of representing what the people want in our district.
I clearly see that, and what you're talking about is the foundation of our group and many advocacy groups here in New Jersey. It's that grassroots, tried and true, door knocking and getting out, making phone calls to you, really connecting to the people to have the conversations. And I'm sure that's really helpful for you guys. It's important to us that our community understands that bills related to health freedom and the religious exemption are not just easily won in our favor. So when we look back at the history of the 2019-2020 religious exemption bill, that vote was not heard in the Senate because they were only one vote shy of what they needed. So NJ5PAC takes a bird's eye view of the state, like as if it was a chessboard, and gets behind the candidates. They're going to create that offensive line to protect the bills and make sure they don't get to the governor's desk and don't have to. So we know it's protected before that. So when we endorse candidates like Steve and like Denise, we're telling you, you can rest assured they've been vetted and that they're supporting us. And that's going to create that offensive line that we need to protect those types of bills. So Steve, can you, actually both of you, if you don't mind giving us your last words on what health freedom means to you, and we can start with Steve.
Thank you. Denise would have went better for me. So the medical, the more I learn about it, the more upset I do get. So as an average citizen, you would just think that you should be able to make any medical decision for yourself, or especially for your minor children. That should be between you and your doctor. And I had no idea the state was so involved, or even on the federal level too, is so involved with these decisions. Once I found that out, I was from Denise bringing me up to speed on that. I said, it's impossible for me to comprehend this, that we would force vaccines, we would force medical treatments on our children, on ourselves too. The government mandates to do that. Fast forward to COVID now that I'm following all these vaccines and all these mandates, it's not the way that it should be, especially with an emergency approved vaccine. It does make sense for some people if their doctor tells them to do it. For younger people, and especially our children, we have no idea how this is going to affect them later in life. And the studies just aren't there. So I think it should be a choice to be made by each parent or individual for themselves. And now that it's creeping into affecting our livelihoods, which I knew it would, I said, this is the next thing. You're going to get fired if you don't get a vaccine. And then the government's next move is, I'm sure they're going to start fining companies that don't have their employees vaccinated. And there is, and I learned this too, that there's many people that can't take a vaccine. So what do you do from there? Where's their exemption at? How are they going to be looked at? Are they going to lose their job? All this has to end. Medical freedom, medical choices have to go back to that individual between them and their medical professional, and parents too, especially when it comes to children. There should be no government making decisions for our children when it comes to medical procedures, masks, anything like that. I am 110% against that, and will fight every single day in Trenton to protect those rights that are given to us by this document, which is super, super important to me too, not to mention the U.S. Constitution. You have my word. This is the only endorsement I wanted, actually. I want to be frank with you. All the endorsements that were mailed to me and sent to me, I filled out none of them. Even some of them are near and dear to my heart, like the FOP. Because the only person I wanted to be endorsed by was my voters. But your endorsement meant the world to me, and the only one that I wanted, and thank you very much for giving it to me, because this right, the medical freedom right, means everything to me, and I will fight every day for it.
Wow. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, because, Lori and I and the other board members of the PAC, we were also sort of ripped out of our lives, our typical lives, to formulate this PAC, although it's been an amazing experience. We've met so many people that are dedicated to the same mission. It's altered our lives, but we realized that, when there's fear, when there's anxiety, when there's stress, you have to get active and do something to change that. Because as Senator Panaccio said to me, I say it all the time, politics is everything, and everything is politics. So you have to know what's happening and be able to protect and preserve your freedoms. And you also mentioned bioindividuality, and I mean that's the core of our name, public health innovation. We see New Jersey as hopefully a beacon of health freedom, where everyone gets to make medical decisions for themselves. And we believe that when doing so and giving everybody the individual right to decide, they will that by nature will cultivate health freedom here in New Jersey and good public health. So, thank you for everything that you mentioned, Steve, and we're so happy to have you here as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Denise, what does health freedom mean to you?
Health freedom means to me, it's the right for an individual to make their own medical choices for themselves and their families based on their personal beliefs or religious beliefs. They don't even have to have a reason. The right to say no should be enough. Pretty much what Steve said is spot on. Spot on. I agree with him with everything. Those are decisions that should be between yourself, your creator, if you believe in a creator, and your doctor, but definitely only between you and your doctor. No one else. No local authority has a right. No state authority or federal authority has a right to be involved in that process, in those decisions. Those are decisions that belong between you and your family.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'm sure the viewers can feel confident that when they get behind you, they're supporting health freedom. And, vote down that ticket, Jack, Steve, Denise, on November 2nd. I'm going to pass it on to Lori. She's going to do a couple quick fire questions to help the viewers get to know you just a little better.
So before I do that, I just want to mention that the Constitution and Bill of Rights was not above your pay grade.
Yes.
You're reading that.
Definitely not.
That's great. So Steve, we'll start with you. What sports car would you own and drive if you could?
So I hate cars because it's my life. But as sports cars, I love Ferraris. It's the perfect combination between beauty, speed, and just ease to drive. Believe it or not, all that horsepower, some of them almost 1,000 horsepower, are incredibly easy to drive. Not easy to work on, trust me. So if I had a choice, it'd be a Ferrari, and actually any of them. I love them all.
Who is your favorite music artist?
The Who.
Who? No, I'm just kidding.
I thought you were serious.
What are your favorite places you visited on summer vacation with your family?
I have to mention Ocean City, New Jersey. We absolutely love it. That town is run right, and they've done an excellent job keeping it a family-friendly, great spot in New Jersey to visit. We are Disney fanatics. I spend a lot of time in Disney World. I actually love it there. And our favorite family summer vacation that we took 5 years ago for our in-laws, my in-laws' 50th wedding anniversary, was Italy. We had a fantastic time. It was literally 125 degrees. We went in August, but it was great. I can't wait to go back there.
Nice. Do you have any pets?
Yes, we have a little 6 pounds now. We're feeding her too many treats. A little Yorkie, Stella, and she's 5 years old, and she's just finally calming down.
And how did you meet your wife?
My beautiful wife, Gina, of 19 years now, to be 19 years next month. We met on a blind date, believe it or not.
Love. Well, hopefully she'll be the first lady of District 4 Senate.
That's if she doesn't divorce me before the end. At this point, I'm hoping she's going. So it's a lot. She's fantastic, actually, and it is a lot. And I'll speak for Denise with 2 young children. A little easier with the teenager. He doesn't want me around anyway. It's a lot on the candidates and their families. So I do thank them all, even on both sides of the aisle, for that, because it does take a lot away from their families. And again, with Denise, with 2 young children doing what she's doing is unbelievable.
Thank you. And just a quick note on Steve. His opponent, who's the incumbent, was actually one of the ones on Senate Health Committee that voted yes to move the bill to the floor. So if you have any doubt on how that person is going to vote, it's not with us. So I just wanted to throw that in there because it's important to know. We didn't get it to a full vote, and we assume we know how people are going to vote, but in that case, we know how he's going to vote. Yeah. So I just want to thank you again, and thank you for answering my ridiculous questions, but I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Now, Denise, are there any memberships that you're proud of?
Well, I'm still involved in all my grassroots groups. I belong to the Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners. I'm a proud and responsible owner, as I support the Second Amendment. I'm also a part of New Jersey Coalition for Vaccination Choice. That's where I started my advocacy and grew out of that into politics. But most importantly, and it's not a membership, but it's the most important title I have, and that's mom. I wouldn't be here without those 2 little people. I would not be doing what I'm doing right now, and I'm feeling a little bit emotional because they're the reason why I'm doing this. I'm here. My children are young. I cannot leave the state, so I figured rather than hear myself complain, and rather than just sit here and accept the fact that I got shut out of all these district meetings that these legislators refuse to see us about. In fact, Just so you know that a legislator makes $49,000 a year, plus they get a $150,000 stipend for their staff and their offices. They should return that money. If they're not going to do their job and they're going to take their power and give it to the governor, then that money should be returned back to the constituency and back to the taxpayer. So, sorry, I'm getting off of that rant and coming back to 5-pack, but they're the reason why. The most important title I have is mom. And when I see them every day, they're my motivating, they're my drive, they're my motivating reason to continue fighting and take that seat. And I'm not going to stop till I take that seat. So those are my memberships and my titles. So
no, that's great. Thank you. They're all great memberships. I was thinking before, you're like, check all these boxes. Oh, veteran, like, oh, here she's a union worker, what's left? Come on. What was your first paid job in life?
My first paid job in life, when I growing up in Hamilton, nothing but blueberry fields, but I worked age 15, we were allowed to work on the field, and I worked, I think it was Atlantic Blueberry. That was my first job, packing blueberries. Yeah.
My younger son would be jealous. He loves blueberries.
Oh, really? Yes. Oh, yeah. I love them too. For a while, I didn't because I would come home with like purple fingers stained from working in the pack house. But now that I got older and I got over that trauma, I love blueberries too.
What is your favorite New Jersey shore town?
I love Wildwood Crest. Wildwood is awesome. I also love Cape May. Almost any shore town, going south, it just doesn't feel like New Jersey. It feels really open and calm and relaxed. No, it doesn't feel like it's mandates have hit those southern towns. The shore towns is awesome. Yeah.
We hear that all the time. And, that's great. What is your favorite TV series?
Here's the funny thing. People ask me if, I watch this and watch that. And I'm like, I think since for the past 2 years, I've been so busy and even busier that I have not watched much TV. I don't even know what's going on series wise, but when I was, and I had the time, it used to be Game of Thrones. And that just kind of made me really upset. That last episode, John was cheated. I don't care what anybody says. He was cheated out of his due right. So I'm really upset of that. I'm still protesting of that. But no, that's pretty much it.
I never watched, but I'll join you protest. No,
yeah.
What is your celebration meal going to be after your win? And will you invite Steve?
Wow. That's a tough one because I'm a big foodie. I love everything. Just put it in front of me. I would have to say a really, really authentic Puerto Rican meal, like really homegrown. Takes a while to make, all the spices and everything, kind of like a really authentic Puerto Rican meal. Yes, rice and beans and pernil and all of that stuff. Yeah.
So, Steve, is that up your alley for when you guys win, or are you going to go somewhere else?
No, I'm inviting myself to that.
Come on over.
I'm so
Awesome. This was great. It's so nice to meet you guys and to introduce you guys to our community and allow them to see you up close and personal, the real candidate, who they are. You're real people. You care about this state. You want to get behind the health freedom movement and allow your voice to be the instrument to do that. And we commend you very much for that effort. So thank you. I hope by now our viewers, our community can clearly see why NJ5PAC has decided to endorse these candidates in the upcoming November 2nd election. If you reside in District 4, or if you have friends or family that do, please spread the word of how important it is to support these legislators and to be sure to vote for them on Election Day. What is happening all over the state and country now makes our rallying in 2019 look minor, but it is imperative that we have strong representation in Trenton. So our future, as well as our kids, depends on it. I mentioned earlier that the success of NJ5PAC relies on the contributions of individuals just like yourselves. So being a grassroots organization, we rely on the people, our community, Unlike pharmaceutical giants who have millions of dollars at their disposal, this is a grassroots advocacy effort to show the people, the legislators, that there are people that in their towns and their districts that care about these issues. So no contribution is too small to show them. It's like signing a petition. When you support NJ5 PAC, your contribution is like signing a petition to show the legislators that this issue matters and that they need to get behind it. So for legislators, votes and dollars are what's important. So we want to show them that by our numbers, and that's the currency that they look at. Every contribution to the PAC shows the legislators that this is that strong voting bloc. And as I explained to you, NJ5 PAC, we took a bird's eye view of the state like a chessboard, and it's important to get behind those specific candidates to cushion the Senate so that we know that our voices are going and our rights are going to be protected. To become a PAC contributor, please go to njphipac.org and sign up to stay connected and donate. There's also an endorsement page. So you'll see this interview there, as well as the endorsement picture of Steve and Denise with the emblem, our endorsement emblem right there. You'll also see you'll also see our past endorsements, and go there to also see future endorsements. Until next time, have a great evening, and thank you for joining us on PAC Chat.
Thank you. Thank you, Felicia. Thank you, Lori. Later,
Thank
Steve.
you.
See you tomorrow on the campaign trail.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Have a great night, everyone.
You
Thank
too.
Good night.